everyone, it's Jennifer from Flux. Welcome back to week 2 of the 2019 Flux Fall Crochet Along. We are making this beautiful autumn farmhouse throw. This is such a lovely blanket. It's a shell stitch that's super easy. It's just chains and double crochets and single crochets. Very easy stitches, and it makes a lot of beautiful texture. Today for week 2, we're going to be learning how to stitch up this shell stitch, how to switch colors, and also how to customize the size of your blanket. Now, a lot of you have been sharing already the sizes that you plan to make, and one of you is even making a king size throw, so that's super exciting. Now, last week, in case you missed it, and I'll put the link down below, we talked about supplies, a little bit more about sizing and some of the materials and the basics of the blanket. And I'll put that link down below. And today we're going to be actually making the blanket, and then next week for week 3 we're just going to be kind of tidying up and doing the finish work for that piece. Before we get started, a couple things I want to mention. If you're on social media, be sure and use the hashtag FiberFluxCal, and I'll put that above to share your work on social media. I love seeing everyone's blankets, and we all like to look at each other's work and what we're doing. We also have 2 communities. One is a Facebook group, the Fiberflux Cow community. The other one is a Ravelry group. So I'll put the links down below for that as well. Hop on over to both of those groups and join if you haven't already. That is our community where you can share your work, you can ask questions. It's just a really fun, positive place to hang out, either place. So without further ado, let's jump right in and learn how to make this pretty blanket. So to begin, we need to put a starting chain on our hook, but I want to talk a little bit about multiples. Our starting chain is 145, so that's going to be a nice long chain for our blanket. However, a lot of you like to change the dimensions, which is perfectly understandable if you're making this into a baby blanket, if you're making this into a king size throw or on a large couch or something like that. So the multiple of this is going to be 6 plus 1. And if you're not familiar with that concept, that just means 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 and so forth, and then add 1 chain onto that. So you're going to do groups of 6s until you get the width that you want, and then just add 1 more chain onto that, and that will give you the dimensions that you need to work out the rest of the rows. Now, if you hop on over to the Flux blog, I have a chart that shows common blanket sizes. So you can get your starting chain the width of one of those common blanket sizes, whether you're doing a stroller throw or a lovey or a twin size blanket or something like that. They're all on there. And you can get the sizing that you want and then kind of modify your chain as needed, okay? But the one I'm going to be making is 145 chains, okay? So what we want to do to begin is grab our hook. We're using that 6.5 millimeter K crochet hook and our Red Heart with Love yarn. And we're going to put a slip knot on our hook. Wrap the yarn around your fingers to make a loop. Bring the yarn behind the loop. Reach in with your hook. Bring up that loop and tighten. Next, we're going to work our chains. So we're going to, let me just grab a little bit more yarn. We're going to work a few together, and then we're going to continue on. So to make a chain, wrap yarn around hook and bring it through the loop. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 140, 141, 142, 143, 144, and 145. So here is our starting chain. It's nice and long because we want it to be a nice width for our blanket. And if you notice, I made my chains fairly loose, not overly loose so they look sloppy, but loose enough so we can get some stitches into these chains for row 1. For row 1, we're going to work in the 4th chain from the hook. So this loop here, let me come in a little bit more so you can see. This loop here does not count. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and 4. So in that 4th chain from the hook, we're going to work 2 double crochets. So let me get this yarn ball out of the way. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Okay, so to work a double crochet, wrap yarn around hook, insert the hook into that chain, wrap yarn around hook, bring up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops. So that's the double crochet. work your second double crochet in that same chain. Then what we're going to do is skip 2 chains, 1, 2, and then in that chain after that we're going to work a single crochet. So insert the hook into that chain, bring up a loop. You'll have 2 loops on the hook this time. Wrap yarn around the hook, bring it through both loops. Okay? Then we're going to skip 2 chains, 1, 2, and in the chain after that, this time we're going to work 4 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so we have like a half shell here and our first little shell. All right, so for the remainder of our chains that we created a few minutes ago, we're going to continue this sequence. So we're going to work skip 2 chains, 1, 2, and in the chain after that, work a single crochet. We just did those 2 double crochets at the beginning of the row to get the row started. But we're going to be repeating that single crochet, and there's 4 double crochets. So work your single crochet, skip 2 chains, and in the chain after that, work 4 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Skip 2 chains, in the chain after that, work a single crochet. And you can see we're starting to get some nice little shells here. Skip 2 chains, in the chain after that, work your 4 double crochets. 1, 2, I'm going to grab my yarn ball here and pull a little bit more yarn. These Red Heart with Love skeins you can pull from the center here, and it's really nice. So we work 2 double crochets, then 3, then 4. Just like that. Now skip 2 chains, work your single crochet in the chain after that. Skip 2 chains, 1, 2, and then work 4 double crochets in the chain after that. So you notice we're starting to get our sequence here. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Skip 2 chains, 1, 2, and in the next chain work a single crochet. Okay, so we've done this a bunch of times, so by now you can see we're doing the single crochet, then the 4 double crochets. Okay, so let's do a few more together and then we'll create the remainder of the row in just a moment. Okay, so skip 2 chains, 1, 2, and in the chain after that work your 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Skip 2 chains, 1, 2, work a single crochet after that. Then skip 2 chains, work 4 double crochets after that. Okay, so I'm going to continue across doing the same thing till we get towards the end of the row, and then I'm going to show you how to sort of wrap up the row and transition onto row 2. Now I have to tell you, this is so super easy. When I show you row 2, that'll be the row you're repeating for the rest of the entire blanket. So once you get row 2 in a few times on your project, it'll just be like second nature, and you can just finish up your blanket using that row 2. Okay, so I skipped. Now I'm working my 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so let's continue working across and then we'll rejoin in just a moment. We've worked all the way across and now we just have 3 little chains left on the end of our row. So to finish up row 1, we're going to skip these 2 chains, and then that very last chain work a single crochet to finish off the row. So row 1 is complete, and I can just zoom out a little bit so you can see what we have so far. It looks fabulous. All right, let's move on to row 2. So what we're going to do to move from row 1 to row 2 is to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to turn our work. Now I got my hook split there. All right, now turn your work over, and then let's zoom back in so you can see exactly what I'm doing here. We're going to work 2 double crochet in that single crochet from the previous row. Remember that single crochet you worked at the end of the row? You're going to work 2 double crochets into that single crochet at the beginning. 1 and 2, just like that. Then what we're going to do is work a single crochet into the center space of the fan from the previous row. So remember our fan, or our shell, whatever you want to call it, had 4 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4. What you're going to do is sort of separate that and go in between there, so that space in between there, and work a single crochet just like that. Okay? Then what we're going to do is locate that single crochet from the previous row, which is right here that we worked, and you're going to work 4 double crochets into that single crochet. 1, 2, 3, and 4, just like that. So our shells or fans are kind of in between the shells from the previous row, okay? And as you work more and more rows, the shells slash fans will kind of present themselves a little bit more clearly, okay? So what we're going to do next is continue this sequence all the way across. So what we want to do is go to that next fan and work a single crochet in the center, that center space of the fan, just like that, and then hop over to the single crochet in between those 2 fans. I know I'm saying shells and fans interchangeably. I'm meaning the same thing when I say that. And work 4 double crochets into that single crochet from the previous row. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay? Hop on over to that next fan and work a single crochet in the center. You can see how they're kind of fitting into one another now. I'm going to grab a little bit more yarn here. And then hop over to that single crochet and work 4 double crochet. So we're just going to be doing this all the way across. We'll do a few more together for our sequence, and then we'll sort of depart and finish up the row on our own like we did before. Okay, so that's 4 double crochet, hop over, locate the center of the fan, work your single crochet in there, hop over to that single crochet, work 4 double crochets into that single crochet from the previous row. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay? So I'm just going to continue doing this all the way across. Go to the next fan, work a single crochet in the center of the fan, work 4 double crochets into that single crochet. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay? So we're just going to do this all the way across our row. Okay, so I'm going to continue working across, and then once again when we get towards the end of the row down here, we'll rejoin and learn how to finish off row 2. All right, coming up to the end of the row, that last single crochet of the row, just work 1, 2 double crochet, 3 double crochet, and 4 double crochet to make that last little fan. And then to finish off the row at the very end, remember that turning chain space? You did your turning chain and then turned your work. You're just going to put a single crochet into that turning chain space, okay, just like that. So for the rest of your blanket, now let me just zoom out a little bit so you can see kind of the progress that we've made here. We have row 1 and row 2 complete. Now for the rest of your blanket, you're just going to be repeating row 2 over and over and over and over again. I am going to work a few more rows of this sage color, and then we're going to switch colors, and I'm going to show you, so stay tuned. I'm going to show you how to switch colors. There are tons of different ways to do it. I'm going to show you how I do it. And then once you learn how to switch colors, you can just go right on ahead with your blanket and work it up as, so we have the width established. You're going to just work it up until the height is what you want it to be. So when we come back, we'll switch colors, and then you'll just be free to create the rest of your blanket, and we have some beautiful shells happening. So stay tuned. We're going to do switching colors next. The last thing we're going to do is switch colors. So as you can see, I went and worked a full repeat of each color change. So I'm just repeating the same row that we talked about before. Let me just zoom out so I can show you. We did the sage color, the cream color, the tan color, and then we're going to switch over to this beautiful teal. But I did want to show you how the colors were displaying. So I went ahead and worked a few repeats of the color. So I'm just going to finish up this row here, and then remember we did a single crochet at the end of the row, and then all I'm going to do is cut the yarn to fasten off. Once we've cut the yarn, you can fasten off by wrapping yarn around hook and just pull it all the way through, and then give that a nice snug sort of tightening up. Now let's grab our teal color. I really love these colors together. They're so fun, and I'm loving all the colors that you're sharing too. So where we fastened off, there's going to be a little stitch there. Here's the knot that we just created, and I'm going to zoom in just so you can see it's a tiny bit better. So insert your hook into that last stitch there, right by that knot that you just created, and then hook the new yarn in onto your hook and pull it through, and then you can just tie it right on. Now I will say as a side note that there are lots of ways to join new yarn. Either if you've run out of yarn and you need to join on a new ball, or if you're ready to switch colors, there's lots of different ways to do it. So if you really like a way that you do it, obviously feel free to do it that way. I like to just snip it off and tie it right on, but feel free to do it the way you prefer. So then once you get the new yarn tied on, you can insert the hook back into that same stitch, bring up a loop, and then we're just going to continue with our project. So chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and just repeat those rows that we learned how to do. I dropped my stitch, so I'm going to just pull that yarn back up, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, turn your work, and then you're ready to keep going. So what we'll just do here is work our 2 double crochets into that first stitch, and then just repeat the whole row over and over and over until your blanket is as long as you would like it to be. Remember that single crochet in the middle of that fan, then in that single crochet from the previous row, work your 4 double crochets and so forth, okay? So we're just doing the same row again and again and again, but I just wanted to show you that color change, because if you're doing stripes like me, that'll be something that you'll need to do, okay? So we have our teal, our tan, our cream, and our sage. So I'm going to just, now that we have our color order established, I'm just going to keep repeating this sequence over and over and over again. So this concludes the second part of our crochet along. Next week, we are going to be focusing on these ends that we've created. We're going to be doing the finish work of our blanket. So I wanted to also mention to hop on over and join our brand new Fiber Flux Crochet Along Facebook group. I know I polled some of you in Instagram, if you follow me on Instagram, as to if there was any interest in me starting this group. So I started a Facebook group for our crochet alongs that we do. We always have so many going on. And I also have a group in Ravelry, and also if you're on social media, use the hashtag FiberFluxCal, and I'll put it up above here, and use that hashtag and you can share your work, and it's always a lot of fun to see what everybody's doing. So I will see you next week, and we're going to make some more progress on our blanket. So I'll see you next week for part 3 of our crochet along. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and hit that subscribe button to get all the latest Fiber Flux video updates. Thanks again!